Good morning, Vandana.
Happy Permaculture Day to everyone, including you. Um, I believe permaculture is agriculture of permanence, which means the permanent renewal of life, the permanent recycling of living systems, the permanent growth of biodiversity so that no species, no variety disappears. For the last 25 years, that is what I have been doing through NAVDANYA, which means nine seeds. It also means the new gift. For the last 25 years, we've been saving seeds and promoting ecological farming so that seeds that were called primitive in foreign industrial agriculture turn out absolutely abundant and productive for an ecological agriculture. There's nothing wrong with them. It's like you say a local vernacular language is irrelevant when you think English is the only language that should be spoken. But the minute you recognize there's diversity of language, you see the creativity of all kinds of cultures and don't limit it to English. Seed is the embodiment of both biological and cultural diversity, and we've been made to believe that only industrial seed has a place, and increasingly, because the greed of corporations knows no bounds anymore, making seed which is renewable in its very essence, a non renewable patented resource that can be sold every season to farmers with super royalties. This has huge ethical consequences, it has huge ecological consequences, and it has huge economic consequences. The 250,000 farm suicides that have been created because of debt. Most of the debt is related to purchase of non-renewable seeds and toxic chemicals, neither of which have a place in a permanent agriculture. Um, we realize the crisis is getting so deep, also that the assault is now on every country. And that is why we need a global coalition. You've been doing this work in Australia, Jude. We've been doing it in India, but we all need to come together as one force for life, for diversity, for freedom. And that is why we've started the Seed Freedom Campaign.
So, yes, and we at Seed Savers here in Australia will be joining you in that.
Well, we welcome that so very much because, you know, destructive agriculture, non sustainable agriculture has been so well organized globally. They managed to get the intellectual property rights on seed and life into the WTO. It's called the Trade Related Intellectual Property Rights Agreement. They got the agriculture agreement into WTO. I would call the first, the patenting on seed, the Monsanto agreement, because they drafted it. They said we were the patient, diagnostician, and physician in all in one. And that treaty was the one that forced me to start NAVDANYA when I heard about it in 1987, including the fact that the corporation said it very clearly that the reason we are doing genetic engineering is to claim patenting an exclusive right to seed as if they had invented and created seed.
Yes, this goes one step further than hybrids, which in a way are patenting anyway, aren't they?
Yeah, hybrids don't give you true seed, so you have to buy, but there isn't an ownership right
No.
on the hybrid. If you're a laborious breeder, you can allow hybrids to breed back into the original varieties and then start breeding again.
Yeah.
Whereas a patent seed makes seed saving, seed exchange, seed breeding a crime. Worse, after Monsanto contaminates farmers, it did it with the Australian farmers whose canola was contaminated,
Yep.
the organic farmer, did it with Percy Spicer, the Canadian farmer.
Yeah.
And then after polluting your field, they have the cheek to say, now you pay us a fine because you've stolen our property. And that is the perverse consequence
It is.
of patents on seed, patents on life. Percy Spicer didn't give up a fight. And I think we need to continue that fight. That is part of what we want to do with the Seed Freedom Campaign. Um, how can it be that patenting of seed allows the polluter to walk away with a reward rather than follow the polluter pays principle where they should be held liable for spreading contamination?
Yeah, that's right. A lot of us, as permaculturalists, I feel, change our lifestyles and don't have the capacities and talents that you have for activism. Certainly not at the international level as you do. And we in the West have. Well, at least in Australia, I feel that permaculture began because we had such destruction to our land. We had to get going and regenerate. Um, how much do you think we should do of activism and how much of changing our own specific lifestyle?
Well, in my view, changing your lifestyle is activism because the opposite of activism is to be inert, to not move, to not do a thing. And a conscious change in lifestyle is an articulation of activism. It is constructive activism. We also need some of us to engage in the activism of resistance against the bad, the destructive, the dictatorial. Uh, so we need both. Without both, it's an incomplete movement.
Why have you chosen and why do you mention Monsanto so much when there are other large corporations like Dow Chemicals that also now own lots of seed companies? Is Monsanto that much worse than the others?
Um, the reason I focus on Monsanto is not because they, they're my special friends in any way. Monsanto turns out to be the company that has taken the biggest control over the seed.
Yes.
It's an objective fact. It is the company that owns 95% of the commercially sold seeds anywhere in the world. If you are in the region of Vidarbha, in Maharashtra, in India, in debt, and are among the widows whose husband committed suicide, you can track that debt to Monsanto super royalties. If you're a farmer whose child is falling sick in Argentina because of the spraying of Roundup for Roundup Ready soya, Monsanto is implicated. If you go to the Amazon, and I've been there to see these beautiful rich forests mowed down just so this can become soya monocultures, Monsanto seeds are responsible for that invasion, along with Cargill's trade in soya. And it's important to know that Cargill seeds worldwide is now Monsanto. Cargill still trades in grain and Monsanto does not. But they are partners in spreading toxic GM seeds.
And this was a small family company, wasn't it? Cargill started in Canada.
It's still the largest private company in the US. And it controls grain trade. It wrote the rules of trade. So if you look at the agriculture agreement, it doesn't have a word on seed or soil or farmer or food. All it has is market access. How do you grab other people's markets? Export competition. Basically, how do you, in the name of competition, collect taxpayer money to become pretend competitive, and domestic support, which in effect means how do you target all the public support farming must get, because farming has to have water systems, it has to have marketing systems. How do you take that and turn that into a problem and direct all of the public support into your favor, which is how corporations like Cargill walk away with $400 billion to make a very high cost production system linked with cheap food. Permaculture allows the systems of nature to create a permanent system of food production on the basis of diversity, integrity, connections, interrelationships. Industrial farming is so unviable that if we withdrew the $400 billion of subsidy that global agribusiness gets, there'd be no food. We'd have a collapse.
Tell me, what's your opinion of agriculture departments and faculties of agriculture? Because in our travels and work in 38 countries, often with quite small NGOs, but very switched on people, like recently in Portugal with Sementas Livres, the Free the Seeds campaign, they were very conscious of how if you went to agriculture university, you were completely sucked into that whole model of the large-scale food production and distribution systems.
The saddest thing is, since industrial agriculture and what is called the Green Revolution, which is not green and it's not revolutionary, brought chemical farming to the third world, our minds were rewritten. It isn't just that our landscape got monocultures. Our minds became monocultures of the mind. And basically,
Your book.
agriculture universities and agriculture extension systems have been insidiously reduced to being marketing agents for toxic chemicals, and hence for the corporations that benefit by selling toxic chemicals. That's why we need a huge new educational process. That's why I have started the School of the Seed, the Earth University on our farm. So there are places people can go for learning from nature, learning from the seed, learning from diversity, learning about holistic systems, learning about agroecology. That's our new challenge, because our universities of agriculture are teaching the old agriculture that came from the war.
Do you have a message for permaculturalists? Because I know that you have a busy day. So can we finish with some message or some suggestions for permaculturalists on International Permaculture Day, Dr. Shiva?
Well, a very strong message of solidarity, a strong message that International Permaculture Day brings all the permaculturists together, and the permaculture part of the movement replaces the short-term thinking based on greed and irresponsibility with the long-term thinking of permanence. Permanence is the nature of life. Permanence must be the way of our lives.
Thanks so much for your clarity and energy.
And we will work together and make each other stronger.
Yeah. And congratulations to everyone around the world, including I've read about on the internet site people in Peru, Romania, Chile, Tanzania. There's a school there putting in keyhole designs. There's a flash mob in Bucharest. I think that means they're marching down the street with placards. And here in Australia, where Permaculture Day started 3 years ago. And thank you, Vandana, on behalf of International Permaculture Day and of us here at Seed Savers Network. It's been wonderful to talk.
Thank you to the system that it allowed us to have a conversation.
Yes, that's right. Wonderful Skype.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Cheerio. Bye.
Bye.
All strength to you. Good morning, Vandana.
Happy Permaculture Day to everyone, including you. I believe permaculture is agriculture of permanence, which means the permanent renewal of life, the permanent recycling of living systems, the permanent growth of biodiversity so that no species, no variety disappears. For the last 25 years, that is what I have been doing through NAVDANYA, which means 9 seeds. It also means the new gift. For the last 25 years, we've been saving seeds and promoting ecological farming so that seeds that were called primitive in foreign industrial agriculture turn out absolutely abundant and productive for an ecology has a place. And increasingly, because the greed of corporations knows no bounds anymore, making seed which is renewable in its very essence, a non-renewable patented resource that can be sold every season to farmers with super royalties. This has huge ethical consequences. It has huge ecological consequences. And it has huge economic consequences, the 250,000 farm suicides. Ecological agriculture, there's nothing wrong with them. It's like you say a local vernacular language is irrelevant when you think English is the only language that should be spoken. But the minute you recognize there's diversity of language, you see the creativity of all kinds of cultures and don't limit it to English. seeds the embodiment of both biological and cultural diversity. And we've been made to believe that only industrial seeds that have been created because of debt, most of the debt is related to purchase of non-renewable seeds and toxic chemicals, neither of which have a place in a permanent agriculture. Um, we realize the crisis is getting so deep, also that the assault is now on every country. And that is why we need a global coalition. You've been doing this work in Australia, Jude. We've been doing it in India, but we all need to